to get funky radical hip as I get to the point.
Rock this funky joint.
Yeah.
Oh,
Renegade culture.
Renegade coaches in the building.
You know what I'm saying? How you doing, my man?
Man, I'm alive on arrival. Good to see you, sir.
Nice to see you too, my man.
Who you be?
I be Kamau K. Franklin, and you are?
I'm the mighty Kalonji Changa, a.k.a. the Riot Starter.
True that.
Is none harder. Anyway,
slow it down, B.
We also got in the building tonight.
The ear doctor.
Ear doctors in the building alongside.
Transmitting live from the planet Earth, it's Minister Server along with
your boy, Jai.
Okay.
Jai.
Hey,
Jai
man.
intern.
It's been an interesting week, my man.
Yes, the first show since the inauguration of Satan, part 2.
Oh, goddamn. So this is jump in right away, yo.
It's right away.
You know what I'm saying?
From the beginning, get them started.
What kind of man would I be if I didn't get taken to the point?
No, that's what we got to do. You know what I'm saying? People, many folks are telling me, they're like, yo, don't ruin people's good time.
Yeah.
Don't talk bad. I was like, somebody's got to say something about
man.
it. You know what I mean? That's my job.
Yeah, it's renegade culture. What do you think we gonna do? You know what I'm saying? I started to wear my Chucks, but I couldn't find no dog shit to step in. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. We got a good show tonight.
Very good show tonight. We got a couple dope folks on. You know what I mean? And they gonna get busy. But I want to point out something special, my man Minister Server and shit, right?
What happened?
Today I was looking online and Minister Server posted a throwback photo.
Of?
Yes, of himself.
Let's
From the 80s.
Let's throw this photo up real quick, like this.
Okay,
Oh.
so yes.
classic shit.
Man, listen.
That body looks a little different than it does now. You know what I'm saying?
Hey,
Y'all
listen,
don't
man.
understand the
See,
80s, bro.
this-
Just can't understand it. Y'all just too young.
To the
You don't
minister,
get it.
to the minister's defense, this particular photo right here,
Yeah.
this is when he was the MVP in the Village People versus Soul Sonic Force volleyball game.
Goddamn.
Celebrity volleyball game. You know what I'm saying?
Now,
So-
go get it.
I was showing out.
Yeah.
I was a man too, yo.
That's when African Bear Body used to babysit for him.
Oh.
Yo, he had some
Anyway.
black exploitation Daisy Dukes on, yo. Them shits was
Yeah,
terrible.
that's terrible, man. And some professional kickball shoes. Anyway,
What happened, man?
Yo, big up to the mighty men of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated. These youngins don't know nothing about the bros. They
Okay.
don't know that see, that was the ladies' look. I'm glad you didn't like it, because I'd have been wondering. You know what I'm saying? That was look was for the ladies.
now you said, who did you say?
Who?
I mean, what did you say, what was the name of the group?
The Fire Side.
The Greek.
Oh, the black.
Okay.
Music part of the Greeks.
The mighty men of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated. Put some respect on that shit.
Did they make y'all wear that outfit?
No. I
That's
made
his
them
pledge
wear it
outfit.
after me.
That was his pledge outfit, B. Otherwise, why else would he wear it?
Hey, he had to get spanked wearing that
You know what
shit.
I'm saying?
But anyway,
Brother Almighty.
Maybe one day, y'all will understand the wonders of Omega. Probably not, but maybe one day.
okay.
Yeah, man.
Hey, I'm not even gonna go there. I ain't saying nothing. Shout out to all the bros. I'm just ask you, don't ever, never come to Renegade Culture dressed like that.
Doom.
Anyway, back to business.
Yeah, so like we were saying, we're going to have a dope show. We're going to have Davey D coming on. We're going to have a speech coming on.
Hold it.
What?
Davey D from the West Coast?
Davey D from the West Coast.
Legendary.
Oh my goodness.
Legendary.
From the Bay.
From the Bay.
The journalist.
Yeah, the journalist. Yo.
Oh my goodness, Davey
what's
D
the
is
name
in
of
the
the
building.
show?
Davey D is Hard Knock Radio.
I never been on, man.
You never been on Hard Knock
No,
Radio?
I have to bring that up. When
That's
you
why
come
the
on.
show's been so successful.
Oh, goddamn, no. You know what I'm saying?
David's a smart man. He ain't like some of these other journalists we had on here. You know what I'm saying? I ain't gonna name none of these journalists. Some of the ones he put on there.
You
I can't think of their names, but I will later on. Don't worry
I've been
about
on
it.
everybody else's show.
Yeah.
And our special musical guest is going to be?
Special musical guest who has a brand new album and single out.
All right.
From the Grammy Award winning,
That's
two-time
right.
Grammy Award winning,
Come on now.
multi-platinum,
Come on now.
Soul Train Music Award.
Just don't stretch it out so much. You got another intro to do when they come on.
I
say,
am everyday
"Hey,
people.
people."
Speech from Arrested Development will be making his return.
Bam, the Renegade
Appearance
Culture.
on Renegade Culture.
Yo, and we got us a new Patreon sponsor. Who we got?
Yo, big up to Robin Kinkler. hold up.
Oh, goddamn.
Klinkner?
What's your name?
Big up to Robin Klinkner.
Well, big up to Robin.
Robin will take her money
supporting.
back now. Now she's going to be like, give me my money back. He fucked up my name so bad.
And this cat right here. Big up to
Yeah.
Robin for supporting on the Patreon. Thank you,
right.
Robin. You know what I'm saying? And thank you for Naka. He's getting hooked on phonics. So next show we'll have
I'm
it right.
just going to say, part of that money, Robin, will go to reading his fundamental for now.
Yes.
Don't worry about it. We got
Real.
it.
Yo.
Anyway, you're listening to Renegade Coaching. We'll be right the book back at you.
Bam.
What's happening? Renegade Coaches in the building.
And we back.
You know what I mean? This is episode 97.
Ooh.
Hot 97. And don't confuse us with New York. This is the Hot 97 show right here, Renegade Coaching.
Hot Atlanta, yo. That's right. We 3 shows away from 100. When we get
You
to
know what I
100,
mean?
we're going to promise to do something special for y'all
We're
because
gonna
y'all
do
been
something big.
special for us.
Real
You know what I'm
big,
saying?
real big.
And I want to point out something that I can't get into detail right now. But on the 100th episode, we're going to announce something major we're doing.
That's right.
Something very, very big that we're doing with a couple other folks that you know.
That's right.
That's going to take us to another level.
We're gonna
You know
blow
what
it
I mean?
out the water,
So
yo.
stay the fuck tuned.
That's right. So let's get right into it, yo. Our special guest, Davey D. Let me do a brief intro.
Okay.
Brother Davey D. Cook is a nationally recognized journalist, adjunct professor at San Francisco State, hip-hop historian, political commentator, syndicated talk show host, radio programmer, media justice, and community activist. For all, one and all, Brother Davey D, thank you for joining us. I almost changed the letter in your name, brother.
it's changed.
Davey D, how you doing, brother, man?
It's good to be on here on the Renegade Show.
No doubt. What's good with you, man? We ain't seen you in a few minutes.
Well, I'm out here celebrating, got my pom-poms and chucks on.
Okay.
And we're happy, Oakland is in the building. And
got
the
some
White
pearls
House
on, too?
and
You got some pearls?
Everywhere. There you go.
The man said you had pearls.
Oakland rules the world. We were just on with the Versus thing that, came on. I mean,
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Golden State Warriors are getting ready to come on. I mean,
Okay.
we're everywhere.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, man, we in Atlanta. Don't start all that shit, man.
Oh, sorry about that.
You know what I'm saying?
Got my Wakanda shirt on. There you go.
Okay. Represent tonight. Okay. Wakanda and pearls.
My adopted home.
there you
that's
go.
right.
Okay.
So let's ask you right away, in the radical world, obviously, Ms. Harris is somewhat controversial, but I think there's this level of conversation that's happening, and people are so happy that the orange dude was defeated and he's out, and they think they can pressure Kamala. What do you think of her, seeing her up close and personal out in the West Coast?
Well, first I think, let's take a moment to look at the fact that people organized and they did a lot of stuff that they didn't expect to do to get rid of somebody who they saw as an existential threat, which was Donald Trump. And to that degree, I salute my hats. I was part of that effort. I didn't want him for another 4 years. I don't think anybody I know had any illusions that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris was going to be the be-all, end-all, or the panacea, or even a direct solution to any challenges that we had. But if I had to pick a fight, and I got to fight, it's like a video game. Which opponent do you want to fight? Do you want to fight the guy with the knife or the guy with the gun? Do you want to fight the guy who knows karate, or do you want to fight the boxer? And so I think people made the choice that they'd rather fight with Biden and Harris than they would with Donald Trump. So that's one aspect to it. With that being said, answer your question about Kamala, many of us who knew her were concerned that as she was making history, being the first Black DA in San Francisco and the first Black Attorney General, the rub on her in the Bay was not that she was locking up people. That's the national narrative, which I don't necessarily know is quite accurate. The rub on her here was that she wouldn't go after the cops. She wouldn't go after killer cops, in particular Mario Woods, when he was killed in San Francisco in her old district, with people who actually started, they sat there and said, hey, I gave her first dollar. Let me get on the phone and call. So it wasn't like she was far away in velvet gloves and couldn't be reached. People talked to her, and she was very reluctant to get involved with that case. she was very reluctant to get involved with the 13-year-old Andy Lopez, this 13-year-old kid in Santa Rosa who was shot, and the DA in that town was in the pockets of the sheriff department, which was responsible for shooting him. You know, they had given plenty of money to her campaign, so a request was made both by the Latino community up there, along with former Black Panthers, in particular Big Man, who's now passed. They went and it was like, hey, Kamala, get involved. This is going to be a conflict of interest. And she avoided that. The context behind her avoiding it was because we knew and she knew that she was going to be running. And she had already angered the police unions in the Bay Area because she refused to put to death somebody who had killed the cops. So she was against the death penalty. And so, you know, cops were kind of rubbed the wrong way. And then she was also the DA when the San Francisco 8 was here. And Jerry Brown took that over. She didn't really resurrect that case. So the cops weren't really feeling her. And the community was like, yo, you're a Black woman in charge. Let's get some things popping. And she didn't do it. When she ran for president, we all figured that she was being quiet because she wanted to have a track record for running. She brought out about 20,000 people in downtown Oakland. And I think a lot of people were very surprised that she allowed the narratives of her not being Black and her record of being somebody who locked up everybody, which, you know, she's a prosecutor, so of course you can find incidents where she did it, but she was by far not the worst prosecutor in the state. The people that preceded her, who were actually progressives, actually had more people locked up. But she didn't defend that, which was like, wow, you know, that's interesting.
Do you think she was trying to take a more moderate stance or have a more moderate look and thought it was good to be attacked by the left on that, and because she thought she would get more right-wing votes or something? Like, what do you think was behind that?
I think what the plan had been, you know, the Democratic Party had in its crosshairs, the leadership, is that they wanted suburban voters. They wanted moderate Republicans, because if you know about the Democratic Party, a lot of it comes out of the DLC, the Democratic Leadership Conference. So that whole footprint still exists, corporate Democrats, neoliberal Democrats. And I think the play was, you know, we can go after these moderate Republicans and the elusive white working class. And so if you can come to the table and have some semblance of law and order, that will play out differently than it would in the Black community. It'd be like, oh, okay, you know, you're the police, you're our heroes. We watch you on TV every night, and you know, and we have a different type of perception and understanding. So she was kind of Obama-like. In fact, they used to call her the female Obama. And the one thing that Obama was known for was being cautious. And he was cautious at our expense. And so Kamala, I think, played that game, even though people directly met with her. So I know that for a fact. But I also know that they met with her after she's been nominated and she's pivoted on some things. So who knows where things are going to go? You know, I have no illusions. This is just a momentary pause. You know, we don't have to look at immediately somebody going, hey, if you breathe, we're going to throw you in jail. You know, we can breathe a little, but that means that you get to breathe and dig some more ditches and put some more things in place. These folks will eventually, as Democrats, they will disappoint and they will betray us. So that's how I look at Kamala. So I have no illusions. You know, I'm just glad the orange guy ain't there. But you know, I'm really not dancing in the streets with her either.
No doubt. Speaking of California politics, California is notorious for having actors as politicians. You know what I mean? You went from Ronald Reagan to Schwarzenegger. Right. And
we had Bono.
Oh man, Bono. I mean,
yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
Is that the whole this is Hollywood type thing, or why do you feel that it's able to fly there, seeing that California is one of the most important states in America?
Well, one, Hollywood as an institution is very powerful. It's one of the powerful building blocks. It has a lot of money. It's $1 billion multi-billion-dollar a year industry, and that's just on the commercial side. If you add into it the porno industry, which is just as large, then you're really talking about something that is a juggernaut that you really have to kind of dance with. And so out of Hollywood comes a lot of legislation around copyright and piracy. Out of Hollywood comes, in some respects, a lot of tolerance. Hey, we want to have, more tolerant type of legislation, and that may range from LGBT rights to, sexual, allowing people just to maybe be free in terms of what they want to do, right? Smoking weed, all that sort of stuff, I think is kind of, in the purview of Hollywood. You're going to have people that roll in those different directions and they are able to flex. With that being said, because you had two conservative actors come out of Hollywood and become governor and president, right. Ronald Reagan and Arnold Schwarzenegger, there is the understanding of how to work media and how to appeal to people in a very emotional way, and understanding that Hollywood has spent millions and millions of dollars doing marketing. How do we get Kalonji? How do we get Kamau? How do we get Minister Server? How do we get Davey D to come to the movies? Do we show a blue color, a pink color? Do we talk with a high voice or a low voice? They do all those types of studies to figure out how we're going to react. And so an actor like Schwarzenegger knew exactly how to play the cards. I don't want to be long-winded, but let me just give you an example what he intuitively did versus his opponents. When Schwarzenegger ran for governor, somebody like me who, I kind of know how to get a crowd, I'm looking around, I go, hey, people are going to be at these football games. So true story, I was with Tavis Smiley, Michael Eric Dyson, and Cornel West, and we were in Sacramento, and they went to the house of he was the guy that was running against Schwarzenegger at the time. I'm going to remember his name. He was the controller. We're at his house and we're talking, and I made the suggestion. I said, if I was you, I'd go to the football game. I'd go to a Raider game and start, getting voters there, pass out, Raiders rule or whatever is on one placard and have your sign on the back. And, folks in the room kind of looked at me like, what the hell do you know about politics? And my response was more like, I'm on the #1 station in this market, and arguably the #1 station maybe in the country because of its influence. So this is stuff that we do day in and day out. We got to figure out how to get listeners every day. And so going to a football game is a great place to go. So he poo-pooed it and was like, nah, I don't think we're going to do that. We're going to do something else. So if you go back and look, when Schwarzenegger ran for his second term, it's Monday Night Football. It's the opening night for the NFL. Who are they playing? They're playing the Oakland Raiders, who had just gotten Randy Moss. It's Monday Night Football, when Monday Night Football was on ABC. And they're playing who? The San Diego Chargers. Stevie Wonder could see the genius in that. You have Southern California, Northern California. You go to the football game. Well, the opponent, I'm so sorry, I'm forgetting his name. He was at a rally in Dublin somewhere. Guess who was at the football game, walking around? Schwarzenegger ran over to the black hole, was buying people beers, talking about, I'm going to be back, had all the cameras on him. It's like, I don't know if I go for the Raiders or the Chargers, north or south. I mean, end of the story. He clobbered his opponent in the election. And prior to that, when he ran, people were going to these debates, and Schwarzenegger said, I'm not going to a debate. And it'd be like, well, why would he do that? He says, because I'm Arnold Schwarzenegger. Wherever I go, cameras will go. So when we were at debates, Schwarzenegger be in the middle of some, God-forgotten town in the middle of the state where all the cameras would come in, and he would have prime time to himself. So they say, here's the debate, and where's Arnold Schwarzenegger? Oh, he's down here in, Modesto, California. And you show up in Modesto, and he's the biggest story they've seen in 20 years. So the contrast is a boring debate, and Arnold Schwarzenegger running around with kids and balloons and a big old party because he's still a movie star.
So let me stop you here. So we're gonna take a break. When we come back, I know we're gonna get into hip hop. Before we do that, we want to talk a little bit about Oakland, because Oakland has changed over the years. And we want to talk a little bit about what's going on in Oakland right now, particularly with the black community. We will be right back at Renegade Culture.
Yeah, Renegade Culture.
Very African, African, very African, African, very African, 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 very African, 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 African.
Sad Renegade Coaches in the building.
Yo, we back. I love to say that. We back.
This cat sound like
black.
sound like the count. Blah blah blah. Anyway,
Hey, why don't you do the Wakanda thing too while you at it?
Oh, like that, man?
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that? You like that? You like that?
how about you don't do that? David got his shirt on.
Thank you, D.
They
Thank you,
repping.
man. Let's talk afterwards, fam. Let's talk afterwards.
Yeah.
So let's get back into it. So, Dave, we want to talk about Oakland. You know, Oakland has this sort of reputation, particularly for its radical politics, not only radical black politics, radical white politics, obviously the birthplace of the Black Panther Party for self-defense. At one point, you know, black mayors and so forth. But little by little over the years now, it seems like some of those politics may still be there, but Oakland as a black city or a city that's mostly black and working class seems to be something that's no longer the case. What's happening in Oakland these days?
Well, not only that, I want to add on with that. There has been some strong local politicians. You had Cat Brooks running for mayor. You have Carol Fife, who's on city council right now. Shout out to Carol and Turha and Che and all those good folks. But so we're noticing that it seems to be a tug of war out there. Definitely talk about that.
Well, Oakland's always had, it's been a city of resistance, whether you're talking about it on a political front, organizing front, or a street front. There's a reason why you don't have the LA gangs in Oakland. There's a reason why Oakland does not look to New York for its cues and what have you. It's an independent city, very similar to Detroit, very similar to Houston. Those are three places that I know of that are kind of like march to their own drum, right? And Oakland is one of them. The challenge that Oakland has is that it's been gentrified and, you know, with the tech boom. So, you know, people saw rents go from people not wanting to live in Oakland, and maybe if they did, you know, getting a 3-bedroom apartment for $800 a month, to now you might be, to get a 3-bedroom, you're looking at $4,000 or $5,000 with a waiting list, right? So what happened, Oakland pivoted under Jerry Brown to become a world destination place. So this is a place where folks from other places bought property, they held on to it. They said, we can get this tech money or we can get this boarding money, this Airbnb money. So, you know, a lot of folks had to move. And just like Atlanta and other places, you started to find a lot of people in the so-called suburbs. So a lot of black folks are in places like Fairfield and Sassoon and Vallejo and Stockton and Antioch. You know, these are places that range from 20 to 30 miles away from Oakland. So even with that, Oakland still has a sizable black population. It's still about 30%. And you still have folks that have a radical bone to them. So you mentioned, you know, Cat Brooks, you know, heads up the anti-police terror project. She ran for mayor. And many of us think that she won, but you know, there might have been some shenanigans with the voting. Carol Fife, who started, you know, who was instrumental with the Demands for Housing, and they took over an abandoned house and made national news. She ran for city council and she won. I think Cheney Turner's running for office. So there's a few people that are out here, and I don't think Oakland will ever lose its edge. Folks that show up here understand, you know, that they got to kind of walk on eggshells. You know, people are still town-centered. Even if they don't live here anymore, people show up, you know, from far away just to kind of reclaim the town and to be around it. So it's still a rough and tumble city.
Right. Yeah, I mean, and the beautiful thing about the connection as far as the political activists and the grassroots activists. When you talk about folks like Kat and Carol and those folks, these are grassroots organizers that we've been in LA and the Bay organizing together. You know what I mean? So I can attest to the work that they do out in the community, which is great.
Right. Well, I think, you know, it's important that, you know, we talk about electoral politics and, you know, the narrative, if you're looking far away, like Carol won her race and it's like, well, that's it. She's in the city council, work is done, or Joe Biden or whoever got into office, work is done. I think most people are very clear that the election is a tool. You have a gun, you have some nunchucks, you have a stick, you have a degree behind your name, you have some money in the bank, and you have voting. And these are all tools in the arsenal that you use at any given time to further the fight for liberation. So yeah, if you can get somebody into office and they can say, we want to defund the police, and they go, I think I'm gonna vote for that, and we're gonna defund the police, or we're gonna vote for a law to hold them accountable. That's maybe an easier path than, picking up a gun and shooting somebody and maybe spending 40 years in jail and then having to hope that some politician, by the grace of God, pardons you. Well, why not just, get into that position ourselves, and we don't have to wait for that, and understand that it's a tool for the moment. And it's also a great organizing tool, so while people can, relate to the election, then it's going to be up to organizers to let them know that the movement doesn't stop with the conclusion of the election. The movement stops when there's equality and people are free. So I think most of the people I know are pretty clear of that, and the voting is just a tool and one of the many weapons in your arsenal.
Yeah, Minister Server has a question. He's gonna chime in real quick.
Big up, Davey D. What's happening? Hey, listen.
I'm good.
To say what you just talked about, we all know that there was some major pardons. Kodak Black got pardoned, Lil Wayne got pardoned, Harry O got pardoned. So what's your thoughts about why did these artists or these hip hop people get pardoned by Donald Trump? What's your thoughts behind that?
Two thoughts. I think, again, Donald Trump understands media, and he looks around, he goes, who's gonna talk the most craziness about me if I let them out? And where can I get some inroads? Okay, Kodak Black, and Lil Wayne. Lil Wayne came out in a very close election and endorsed Trump, right? He sat up there and took that picture with him. Coming out of, he was in Georgia, so I think he's living in Georgia, but we know him from being in New Orleans, and people may even associate him with Florida. That could have turned some heads, Trump was trying to get a certain percentage of the black vote, and he figured that would give him the edge in battleground states. So if he can show himself with a picture of Lil Wayne, he was figuring maybe some of that cultural capital could translate to electoral capital at the polls. Kodak Black, his video came out yesterday, and he's like, I don't care what y'all say, Donald Trump is my president, right? So yeah, you go and screenshot that, put that in the video, and if he ever runs again, guess what will be in his commercial? Kodak Black, that's my president. And Trump, because he is in entertainment and he does have those pulls, he can do some deals with some of these folks that others won't. Hey man, I can get you some airplay. I can get you some interviews. I can get some visibility for your projects. Right. And, maybe even put you on a reality show. So some of these artists, if you know them, one thing about artists, they're either very egotistical or they're very insecure, and it's two sides to the same coin. Right. So you can play on the ego or you can play on the insecurity. But some people be like, you gonna let me be on TV? You gonna let me be on The New Apprentice? Man, that's my man.
Let's get into the politics of hip hop these days, because that's interesting. Because you feel like, more than ever, we've got you mentioned Kodak, Lil Wayne, Kanye. All of a sudden, there's right-wing rappers, and it's okay. Some of them have been able to hold their audience, even though they're getting dragged on social media, but be right-wing. And that probably is not something that's been as prominent, when rappers have taken political stances in the past, as what we see right now. What do you owe that to? Do you think it's just the money that can be made now? People worry about their tax bracket?
I don't think they're white. I don't think they're right-wing rappers. I think these are folks, and there used to be a joke, could you find a Republican rapper? I don't think you're gonna hear a song in 2021 that is big upping Trump. You did hear 66 songs that name checked him before he ran for president, and this was after he put that ad out to call for
Central Park,
the death
yeah.
of the Central Park Five, or the exonerated five, as they're now called, right? So the point that I'm getting at, there's always these contradictions with people when they get money. Trump was somebody who hung out in these circles, so they're smoking weed, doing coke, getting at girls, getting at women, that whole type of vibe.
Yeah.
And so he became, their buddy who has lots of money, more than it was that he was somebody who they shared his political ideology. And it only really, became a source of conflict for some of these folks when Obama was in office, and many of them put their cultural capital behind Obama and saw that their buddy, who they hung out with, who they had drinks with, who they shared women with, who they was kicking it with at the club, was calling Obama basically a nigger without even saying it. He's like, he's not a citizen. And so people are like, well, Diddy, what do you got to say about that? Russell, what do you got to say about that? You go down the list like, man, this is your man. What do you got to say about that? And then look the community base who, had admiration for Obama and be like, what do you have to say about your boy? And so you saw a lot of people kind of peel off. And then, Kanye, if you know him, he's always trying to be, if you go right, he's going to go left. Yeah. So,
he's contrary.
I wasn't surprised to see him do the move that he did, but is Kanye really a politician whose words we're going to listen to? I mean, this past election showed, nah, not really. You're just going to be a part of the circus. Lil Wayne, he has a fan base that might have, where some people may have listened to him. So that's a whole different, story. Kodak Black, I don't know where that will, land. But, Trump or anybody who's on that right wing will take whatever publicity they can get and any sort of validation to folks that would say, are you guys racist? And he goes, nah, this is my boy Lil Wayne. Are you guys racist? No, I let Kodak Black, Kwame, Kilpatrick, and Harry O out of jail. What did Biden do? What did Kamala do? What did Obama do? What did Barack do?
That's right.
They didn't do none of that, right? So it creates a different type of conversation. And, I'm not going to argue with him for letting them free. I wish he would have let Jamil, A$AP Brown and others free. But,
we got to do what we could.
That gives us an excuse to go and smash on them. Hey, man, if he can let them out, what are you going to do, Uncle Joe?
That's right.
What are you going to do, Kamala Harris? I mean, I mean, I don't laugh, but that's our job at this point, is to point that out and to, quietly behind the scenes and let others in front of the scenes that are more loud, kick up dust and be like, let's get Matul Shakur out. Let's get some of these other people out of jail. And
do you hope for hip hop? Let me jump in for a second. Do you hope for hip hop to have a more, let's say, not just a more nuanced political voice, or do you think there's room for folks in the hip hop industry in particular to do something that's far more progressive and a unified front kind of thing?
I think hip hop has already done that. Barack Obama is in office because of hip hop. I was in Houston where there was 10,000 people at the Ozone Music Awards. It's on video. Where it's Rick Ross, it's Ludacris, it's all those people, Bun B and all of them. And they made a commitment. They said, we're going to put on our Sunday best. People like David Banner said, we are not going to mess this guy's chance up to get into office. We're going to be part of this history. And they went to work. I was in Houston with people like Bun B were out there saying, I'm going to be a kingmaker. I interviewed them and they were up on the issues and using their influence. You saw Brad Jordan, AKA Scarface, and Willie D run for office in Houston. You have Ras Baraka as mayor in Newark. You have Akila Sherrill, who is instrumental in the gang truce and will tell you himself he was influenced by, the golden era of hip hop, running, their street team as they reimagine public safety. So I think there's hip hop sensibilities. Do I want a rapper, somebody who's strictly into rap to come up with a nuance, to lead me? Maybe if they're Rebel Diaz, sure, because they are organizers more than they're artists. Dead Prez, I can get with they politics. Do I want 50 Cent to do it? No, man, that wouldn't make no sense, because they don't have skin in the game. So I think there's a lot of artists that I think have the nuance. I mean, you're gonna have Speech on. Speech has a certain type of nuance. He can have a political conversation with you. But do I want a rapper sitting in office?
Yeah.
I think that train has left. We imagined that a long time ago, back in the 90s, but I don't need a rapper to be in office. I need somebody who loves black people to be in office. And, if you can rap and love black people, I'll take it. And if you're the janitor or one of you guys, sitting in the chair, in office and love us, then I'll take that.
Yeah, they probably don't want me to be in office because I'm a smoke weed and cuss and probably burn flags and all that. So they probably don't want me.
No.
But speaking,
we need respectability back here, and you're kind of uncouth.
That's
And
true.
we don't need uncouthness.
I tell them that every day, B. Every day.
Hey.
Look at that,
I thought smoking weed was legal in California. But anyway, speaking of that, you were also talking about hip hop and politics. You were a part of the National Hip Hop Political Convention, probably about a dozen or so years ago,
Right.
when
Last
Rosa
one.
and Cynthia McKinney were running for vice president.
I was in Chicago when Rosa accepted the award.
Yeah. So
No, accepted the nomination. Yeah.
Right. What would you what would you say real quick was the pros and cons of that particular piece?
Well, obviously, you were talking about Obama, and for several generations of people, this was the culmination of all their years of struggle to one day see, somebody who is black be in the White House, whether or not his politics were online and all that was irrelevant to a lot of folks, at least the ones I talked to who had, that were 90 years old when I went to that inauguration and was like, you don't understand. I sat on the back of the bus and they hung my uncle. And, I heard all those stories. For them, this was their moment, right? And there was nothing wrong with that. And that's what Rosa and Cynthia were up against. It overshadowed the historicness of what they were doing and even the policies that they were trying to represent. I wish they had came on the scene with more of a power base in terms of media to get their message out consistently, where people could really, saw and heard what they were talking about. Instead, they seem, in the eyes of some, it's like, well, why are y'all doing this when this black man is running for office? I would like to have seen them run again, maybe for a local office. I know Cynthia was Congresswoman, but I think I would have liked to see more artists if they were going to go in that direction, or more people coming out of that generation to have run on local levels. And I think to a degree we have seen that. But, in terms of people coming out of the convention, many of the people that I know have been doing all that work, they've been doing the kingmaker, queenmaker work. They're the ones that's been like, let me get these voters, let me work in these battleground states, let me do this behind the scenes stuff. So I don't know if they're necessarily trying to sit in office, but they definitely are trying to organize and shift power, at least electorally speaking.
David
With
D,
that-
we want to thank you for coming on. David D, adjunct professor, hip hop historian, best hip hop historian I know. You know what I'm saying? David D, radio personality and so forth. We want to thank you so much. I was trying to give a little
Appreciate
knock
that.
on Minister Serving.
I'm gonna be.
I know he's going to
I'm-
say anything about that.
I'm gonna be remiss because we do have a book coming out.
Okay. Yeah.
So-
Tell us a little bit, yeah.
So it's the rewrite of Jeff Chang's book called Can't Stop, Won't Stop. And so we did a rewrite of it, and it goes all the way up to the pandemic and the George Floyd rebellions. And, asked me to be a co-author on it. I was very honored to do that. That was a lot of work. Writing a book is really geared for young people. And so that will be coming out in March. And the whole magic of that book was understanding that this music and this culture called hip hop has always been alongside the political dynamics of the day, from its very beginning all the way up to now. Hip hop does not exist in a vacuum. And there's a commercial element that wants to detach it from its political leanings or its response to political scenarios. But we try to highlight, the work that people have been doing, from that artist lens, from the speeches on down, and hopefully people like it. So
Cool.
I'm looking forward to it.
We're looking forward to having you back on. Hopefully we can get you and Jeff Chang on to talk about the book. when it drops.
Okay.
Also, where can folks check out Hard Knock Radio?
Well, if you're in Atlanta, we're on 89.3. I think we're on at 12 noon. If you're up here in the Bay, we're on at 4 o'clock on KPFA. We're in Seattle. We're in Portland. We're in Fresno. We're in Peoria. We're in a few places. I don't know all the different times, but you know, the flagship is here in the Bay Area every day at 4 o'clock.
No doubt.
And, you know, and big shout out to you all in the ATL.
Yo, salute, man. Appreciate you. Keep up the good work, Davey. Listen to
Thank you.
Renegade Culture.
We'll be right back.
Black out.
All right.
Yeah.
Peace and much love. I am Minister Server, right here with your hip hopstery. Y'all know who this is? Well, you should know who it is. This is Christopher Lee Rejos, also known as Big Pun, one of the dopest MCs in hip hop history. Now, Big Pun's a big dude, as you see, but his lyrical dexterity, the way he flips word, which is verbal gymnastics, was beyond comparison. When he came up with Fat Joe and the Terror Squad, yo, he dropped the album Capital Punishment, and he was the first Latino artist to go platinum. You know what I'm saying? He had another album out called Yeah Baby that just took it to another height. Unfortunately, Pun left us way too early. He was only 28 years old when he passed on in the year 2000, and he died of a heart attack, man. So again, health and wellness is a part of it as well. But Big Pun will go down in history as one of the dopest MCs ever. Big up to the Bronx. Big up to all the people that are repping real hip-hop lyrics. Big Pun, hip-hopstery. Word.
What's happening, Renegade Coaches in the building?
Yo, we back, you know what I'm saying?
Kalonji Changa back at you.
Kamau K. Franklin.
We in the building. We just had Davey D on.
Yeah, that was amazing, you know what I'm saying? Having Davey D on for the first time on the show. You
Talking
know what
about
I mean?
Hollywood and politics.
He was lighting it up. All that Oakland news. I didn't know all that. I was writing that down. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, you know I always bring on the dopest guests. In fact,
Always.
In fact, this next guest, speaking of the dopeness,
Uh-oh.
2-time platinum,
Bam.
2 MTV awards,
Talk that talk.
2 Grammys.
Bam.
Okay.
Wait. I said 2-time platinum. I was wrong on that. I think is it 2.5 times platinum?
4
4
times.
times platinum.
Can you count
Oh,
it up? Can you
mercy me.
Oh.
Mercy me.
Talk that talk.
4 times platinum.
We sorry, Speech.
2 Grammys.
He can't read either. You know what I'm saying?
2 MTV Awards,
Bam.
Soul Train Awards,
Woo.
NAACP Lifetime Achievement
Oh,
Awards,
bam.
and the most important part of them all, are y'all ready for this?
Tell 'em.
Return guest to Renegade Culture.
Speech.
Hot damn, we have speech from Arrested Development. Speech from Rockland.
Speech, how you doing, brother man? You good?
Man, I'm doing good. I'm hanging in there. It's been an interesting year, dude. Like, to say the least.
How's you and the
Yeah.
family been doing around the COVID stuff, actually? Y'all doing good? Masking it
We're
up?
quarantining real heavy, so we're all good. None of my family has gotten it, but I've lost friends. I mean, people have died, man, that I know closely.
Wow.
And so it's been, a double-edged sword. Like, I've been having some of the best times at the house and doing certain things here, and then some of the worst news with friends of mine passing. So it's tough.
That's a horrible thing, man. I got to tell y'all, man, I said this before. Speech lives on a lovely island. I almost drove into the ocean one day trying to get to his house. Literally, I'm sitting there, I'm like, man, Speech, I'm out here as alligators, orangutans, and all types of other things. I was scared as hell. I'm talking about I tried to back up Speech. I had to come out there. And
It was hilarious.
And he's guiding me out in the middle of the night. And I'm sitting there. I'm like, wow, this is Speech from Arrested Development doing traffic control for me.
The 4-time Grammy Award winner.
Yes. No. 4 times platinum.
4-time platinum,
Yes.
2-time Grammy Award winner.
Get it right.
That's right.
Anyway, man, it's a lot going on with this whole presidency, man. What's your thoughts on that?
I'm very, I literally feel like a load has been lifted off my back.
Okay.
I hated the 4 years that we had to deal with Trump. I really felt literal pressure on my whole spirit and body that whole time. And I feel like a lot of it's been lifted off by just simply having somebody that I feel is sane in the office and having somebody that I think cares about just general things, not to mention is saying that he's going to do certain things for our people, which are extremely deserving. So I feel relieved and I feel hopeful, and I'm looking forward to seeing what happens.
It is a wild day on the planet when I hear you say that just the first thing you saying, having someone that is sane.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like, in the last 4 years, that's been something, something hard to ask for.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Bro, I literally have felt like for the last 4 years, we've been dealing with insanity, narcissism, just lack of general morals. I'm not talking about high-end morals, just your general basic morals. Just nothing there, man. It's been insane to me.
Now,
And probably to most of the nation. Obviously there's a big swath of the nation that loves him, but the rest of the nation doesn't. And most people I know are celebrating.
right. So about 2 weeks ago, in typical Trump style, we thought that COVID was like the grand finale, but the grand finale happened to be this whole storming of the Capitol situation. What's your thoughts on that? We know that you wrote a song about it. Want to hear it go? But
Exactly. Well, as you well know, I wrote a song literally the night of that rebellion, that insurrection. I wrote a song about a lot of the issues that I was feeling. I mean, number one, I felt like the hypocrisy and the double standard was just so disheartening, so blaring between what they've done with us when we're non-violently protesting and what they did with these people who were violently, not even protesting, rioting, trying to subdue the entire government, trying to hang and kill people in the Capitol, subverting the whole entire election results and ceremony that they were doing. I mean, just literal like revolutionary tactics. And the response from most of the police was astounding. And the fact that they allowed these men and women, most of them, to go home. So I think there was like 2,000 or more people out there,
right.
probably 200 or more in the Capitol itself. And they allowed everyone but 50 or so. There was only about 50 arrests initially.
That's right.
And they allowed all of the rest of them to go back to their hotels, back to their hometowns before they even started any searches for people. It was just
And they only did that.
standard.
I was going to say, they only did that because, there was that outrage about it. Because as we know, a lot of the protesters included cops and law enforcement and military personnel, which shows a lot of times that, the amount of police that support Trump and even just the right-wing behavior that's endemic in the police department and military, they didn't want to do anything about that because they were out there with them in the most part,
Exactly. And that to me was another like deeply concerning situation. Just like we've always known about white supremacist organizations, skinheads, Proud Boys, Boogaloo, all of these different organizations. But what I think America needed to wake up to was how entrenched those types of organizations are with just like my neighbors, bro, like the people around my neighborhood, the people maybe around your neighborhood, but it's like people that are just average Americans are entrenched in a lot of these same ideologies in a radical way. And those were a lot of the people that were at that march and that turned into a riot and an insurrection and all the rest of the things that were happening. Not to mention the congressmen and women who are involved in it, the police, the ex-servicemen or present servicemen. So it goes so deep. And I think it's a definite wake-up call, hopefully for white America. I don't think it's too much of a wake-up call for me, you guys. Like, I'll tell you, I think we already understood how deep this thing goes. But I think for a lot of people, it's sort of freaking them out. And I still don't think they totally get it. I think I saw your hand go like, I don't think they get it,
I don't think so
as
either,
deep
man.
as they need to.
It's wild. You had a couple documentaries recently, little docuseries on YouTube dealing with the whole nigger factory. Will you be responding to what's going on right here in that type of manner, or you're just going to leave it to the music on that particular?
No, I think, I try to use whatever medium is most available to me. And so, Jason Orr from Funk Jazz Cafe fame.
Jason.
Shout out to Jason.
Jason helps me with those hoodwinked nigger factory mini docs. And so because of COVID, a lot of our team has been disbanded. They've had to do other gigs in order to make a living. So my sort of team to help make that happen has been put on hold for a moment. So I've been doing other things like the music, and my new single, A Different World, is really trying to hit that right head on. And I'm proud because I was able to release that 6 days after the insurrection. So it was pretty much right on time with what's going on right now.
Tell us about A Different World, and also
The album.
the album.
Don't Fight Your Demons.
Don't Fight Your Demons.
Yeah, so I mean, Don't Fight Your Demons is the Arrested Development album, and it came out September 25th along with Public Enemy's album, Paris's album, Nappy Roots album. You know, a lot of people that was like really on the conscious hip hop scene. We had a really momentous release date, and the record has gotten on numerous 2020 best of album lists, and it's gotten tons of critical acclaim. We've sold a lot of records compared to what we have been in the last 20 years or so, and a lot of love. So it's this record called Don't Fight Your Demons. It's available on all the streaming services, and people can buy it on our website, which is arresteddevelopmentmusic.com. And then we got the vinyl dropping for that record this month. So people can get vinyl records too. And then the Different World, the single about the insurrection, which is really all about that. That single has been a solo single of mine that I wanted to release to just talk about, because to me, I feel like hip hop music rarely talks about the things that are going on in real time, especially the things that are super important. And to me, this was a good example of doing that, like getting back to what hip hop was at its height in the golden era, where we were talking about all types of things, but one of the things we were talking about was what was going on in life. You know what I mean? And I feel like hip hop, especially mainstream hip hop, hasn't really done that very well. So this single does that. It really hits this topic.
Speaking of hip hop, your former president just pardoned a couple rappers, Kodak Black, Lil Wayne, and a few other characters. What's your thoughts on that?
Personally, I feel like whatever Trump does, it's generally speaking not well thought out. So I'm not saying he shouldn't have pardoned these brothers, but I will say there is brothers and sisters that are in prison for much lesser charges, who have been in there for much more time, that deserve to have been let out. And if he was the type to do any real research and have a lot of good advisors around him, there was many people he could have pardoned that really needed that love much deeper. And I'm not dissing my peers in the hip hop game, but I feel like there's other people that could have gotten those pardons that really needed that. And they're less voiceless than people like Kodak Black or Lil Wayne. So that's what I feel.
Yeah. Well, they definitely, we still trying to figure out what the hell Kodak Black or Lil Wayne talking about on a day-to-day basis. So, you know what I'm saying?
And that's the other thing. Like, it seems obvious to me that he would choose, number one, celebrities, but number two, celebrities that don't talk about any type of political stuff. Like Lil Wayne has literally said he hasn't experienced racism. So people like that is who he would pardon, as opposed to anybody that might, if Chuck D was in prison, which he's not, but if he was, he likely wouldn't pardon Chuck D. You know what I'm saying? Like, he would pardon Lil Wayne over Chuck D.
Or Speech either. He wouldn't be pardoning you either, brother.
He wouldn't pardon me.
I think he'd get a photo op with Lil Wayne and the rest of them, so that's probably why they got down. So
Lil Wayne, Kodak Black, Kanye West, people that's like never really challenged anything he's ever spoken about. And with Lil Wayne and Kodak Black, I don't know if they've challenged anything of any type of political nature.
I think if anything, they're challenged themselves. But anyway.
That's really the root issues. They're deeply challenged.
Sure, indeed. We're listening to Renegade Culture. We had Speech from Arrested Development. We're going to be back at you in a few ticks.
And when we come back, Speech is going to drop a couple of lines for us, if I'm not misunderstanding.
Oh, my.
And I think we got a bold question for Speech. So when you come back, we're going to try to read this bold question. Don't look weirded out by the bold question. I will explain that to you when we come back on Renegade Culture, right? Boom. Black.
Shout out to Renegade coaches back at you.
You know what I'm saying? Exciting outro, you know what I'm saying? And we heard some big stuff from Speech.
We got big stuff, and we didn't even hear all the big stuff. From
Apparently not. Yo, there's some other stuff brewing.
Yeah, so Speech, for you youngins or whatever, one thing I have to say because of the fact that, and I was talking to some folks earlier today, when you think of Arrested Development, you don't have to guess what their songs are because any day of the week, you could turn on the radio and you can hear something from Arrested Development. Yeah. That is, that is a phenomenal feat.
They're icons, man.
I mean, literally, any day of the week, any part of the country, you can go and turn on the radio and you can hear something from Arrested Development.
Yeah.
So if you don't know the name, I would say Arrested Development and Houdini. These are two groups whose names that...
Rest in peace, Ecstasy.
Yes, definitely rest in peace, Ecstasy. Shout out to Jalil, you know what I mean, who's an excellent brother. But these are two groups that oftentimes new folks might not know the name, but they know the songs, they know the music.
Everybody
So I definitely want to salute you all for that work. And RIP to my brother, our elder, Baba OJ, who was an official member of the FTP movement, who was outside feeding the people with us every week when he was alive, when he was here in Atlanta. I know he ended up going back and got sick and all of that.
A real brother.
Man, he was 60-something years old doing splits. He took me to a roller skating ring with him one time. And he was skating better than me. He was spinning around, doing all kinds of things, kicking it with the ladies. I was like, yo, Baba OJ, holla at her, man. Give her my number.
Yeah.
He like, man, you got to get your own. But Baba OJ was definitely a good brother.
Yo, so before you do that, you talked on the break about a supergroup. I'm gonna call him a supergroup. It sounds like a supergroup to me that you guys are forming. Can you tell the folks a little bit about this group and who's in it?
Well, we was talking earlier about Daddy O, and Daddy O is the famous, infamous MC from Stetsonic.
Yes.
One of my heroes of hip hop. I remember listening to that record all the time. And then another hero of mine, Chuck D from Public Enemy, obviously even more infamous, probably the #1 Hall of Fame hip hop group of all time, and myself are all doing this group. And Daddy O put this thing together, and it's called the Night Train. And we're putting together an album. And we did, how it all started is we did a single that Daddy O did called Bullets. And it was a Daddy O single featuring Chuck D and me. And people loved it. We loved it. And Daddy O was like, yo, we should do a group. We should tour. And then, of course, COVID hit. And it slowed down that process. And in the meantime, I released Don't Fight Your Demons, the solo album that's coming out on February 1st, expansion. But as soon as all of that stuff is over, we're getting right back into it. So yeah, supergroup.
That's the
Night Train. That's the Night Train.
All right, so quickly, we got Naka's Nonsense, which the audience is familiar with. We got like 1,000 questions in the bowl. It's 1,000 questions. Don't ask any questions about how many questions. We're going to read one of them randomly to you and ask you to give us a quick response about what you think based on the question. So, my man can't spell advice, but I'm going to keep it going. What advice do you have for new hip hop artists? So, Brother Speech, what advice do you have for new hip hop artists in the game?
2 pieces of advice. Number 1, be original, bro. We insist we need more original artists. People that are willing to speak their real story instead of trying to be hot and trying to be like along with the rest of the rappers that are already out. And then the second thing I would say is love the art of hip hop, because there's a tradition that you're standing on the shoulders of people. And I'm not saying it's self-serving. I did it myself. I just mentioned Chuck D, Stetsonic, Daddy O, and so many others that I stand on their shoulders, you stand on our shoulders. So remember that hip hop is a tradition. So those are the 2 things I would tell new MCs that are getting into this. Learn the history, understand it, appreciate it. Don't just come in like nothing's happened prior to you. That's the 2 things I would say.
That's beautiful, brother.
That's real dope right there. That's hip hopstery, as Minister Serv would say. Okay, man, we want to thank you for coming on. But before you leave, it is a tradition of hip hop artists that come through to spit some bars. Now, word on the street is that Speech from Arrested Development
True.
had a few bars that he wanted to share with the people.
Well, y'all asked me to, so I'll spit something.
You want to spit something?
No doubt, no doubt.
Wait a minute, though. Before you do that, we was going to ask social media contacts
yeah.
if folks want to pick
Yes.
up the album one last time.
Yeah, so all of our new joints, you could get them at arresteddevelopmentmusic.com or my website, brotherspeech.com.
Yes.
And everything's there. So the new Arrested Development album, Don't Fight Your Demons. My new solo album, which drops on February 1st, is called Expansion. And all the singles that I talked about, From a Different World to the single that I wanted you on, Kalonji, Becoming, all of that's there. So brotherspeech.com, let's just wrap it up to that.
Cool.
And on IG, I'm at speech__. Same with Twitter, at speech__.
Word.
All right. Now, everybody quiet on the set. My man Speech's going to kick some bars for us.
Word up. I'm going to do this track that's from the Don't Fight Your Demons record. It's called Moses. And I just wrote it pretty recently, so I'm going to try to spit it. But it goes, I wrote acre for acres. Then I bought more than 10 acres. That's how I fight against these racists. Even my third eye had LASIK, so I've been seeing 2020 since 93, just covering the basics. Everyday people in the public fans screaming, we want more. I love it. People every day during the encore. Back home, I open up my barn door. John Deere tractor, pull it out. Riding more for the mule and 40 acres that never made it around my house. Slave away in my indoor office. Offices is for bosses. Any winner has had losses or falsehoods poured all over them. Don't get lost in the sauces. I asked Jesus, can he save me? I felt myself drowning in these ladies, breaking marital bonds for quick relations. Took my wife on the road to nip temptations. I am no longer a Rolling Stone like Brian Jones. No large bodies of water in Georgia. Large bodies of water give me euphoria. Menominee River Parkway off Concordia. Milwaukee, Wisconsin lakefront down in Memorial is sacred soil. Nothing you know of me has been a front. Not an actor or activist, no stunts. And everything that I teach to the music is roots. My quest is love within the booth. Not about what I've done, but what I do. Not married to the game, but to the groove. Not married to the fame, but to the tune. If you were to ask the same from the who's who, our best is a disconnect like Bluetooth. To my true blues, it's not new news to you. That's all. I just give you
Block out. That's right, you heard it here first.
Exclusive.
Speech from Arrested Development. Speech, man. We love you, appreciate you, brother. You know what I'm saying?
much love. Y'all. Thanks for having me on.
Thank
y'all.
you for coming, brother. Thank you so much.
Anything you need, we here.
Renegade culture.
Black out.
We out.
Bro.